Okay, so I have a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about. I don't know, this is weird. I'm gonna have to just really, get a better setup or something like this. These are so wonky. Anyways, so I don't know if this is a weird angle or what, but anyways, so I really want to say thanks to all of you guys that are so supportive and stuff. That is where you really show, like, what is the purpose of community, when you're going through something and people, send their support. And that was one of the things that was really cool. So, the dad, the baby's dad, it's always weird because of all of their weird labels and stuff to call someone a spouse, even though someone's living with someone and they have a child together, but without the legal contract. So, her partner, that's the best way. So, my daughter's partner, he has been the one who has been corresponding with me. And she hadn't said anything and barely talked to me at the shower or anything. So, but I've known her for her whole life. And I see through her stuff. So, I knew some of the stuff, like, it's just like it's whatever. And so anyways, he's been corresponding. He's the one who asked me to come to the shower. He's the one who, invited me to the art show and all of that stuff. And then, and when I got back, I hadn't heard anything. And then I was thinking, man, it's gone past her date. So I guess we'll see if they are going to notify me. And then they did. He notified me when she went into labor. And they went and, had the baby, then sent all these pictures. And oh my gosh, he's so cute. Oh, he's really cute. And so sent me all these pictures. And then... and so then yesterday morning when I got up, it was so crazy too. Because it was like your mood can just go like boom in 1 second. You're just like, okay, and everything's fine. And then you look at something and it's like everything just washes away. It's like, oh my God, what? And then especially because this is something that to me is the hardest part of all of this stuff. It's because of my perspective, my perception, my vision of where I'm at watching this. Because I've already gone through so much of the stuff that people are going through that I have a clearer vision. Like there's so many people who have no idea what's happening, but I can see it clearly because I've gone through it and I've been watching this play out for years now. And so, it is, I can recognize the process. I can see what is the purpose. And that's why, coined this little, or took the phrase of, their come to Jesus moments, even though that sounds religious, like you've got to come to Jesus. No, it's just that, that's what happens when a person's in a crisis. Oh, Jesus, please, Jesus, save me. And so that's why I call it that come to Jesus moment, is because that's generally what happens is that they do. Some people will just be like, God, please, if you're up there, but you know what I'm saying. Anyways, so I knew everybody had to face these come to Jesus moments. And then as I started, awakening more and more and seeing like past life stuff coming, and I was like, okay, this is way bigger than just like this life. This is like, you got to heal things that you've been doing for a long fucking time that you don't even remember. And you got to open yourself up to your memories so you can remember. Then you got to trust your instinct that you're not crazy. Like, that's what I'm like, it's so multi-layered. All of the awakening is such a process. And, people want things to just like, people get so mad at family members and stuff because they're not awake yet. And so, and I just started really paying attention to it from a different perspective than I was hearing other people talk about, just noticing like my neighbor not having awareness, like that really stood out to me. It's like, that is, people are really in their own little world. And that is why they're not seeing what's going on. And that is why it's called, the awakening. You got to pull out of your own little world and see the world around you. And then in the past life stuff, like, what, the gypsy thing has been stuck on my head so much. I can't get, and maybe it's something, from her life, which, you got to keep in mind when you talk about lives, is just the same as, books. It's the books that you played a part in. It's like the Akashic record, the library of all lessons of every life possible. And think about this. I was thinking about this yesterday, is how, some lives are so horrible. We create that. Especially watch some Lifetime movies and you're just like, oh my God, what people do to each other. Like, what? And people come here to experience that, like to create that and experience it. It's like, I think I'll just stay up in my little, my little earthly heavens area where there's peace and love and tranquility. Like, this is super hard. And I think that it has so much to do with it is like waking up in hell and having to ascend out of there. And everything that I'm having to go through is the witness while people are asleep. Unless you go through it, you don't even know. I mean, it can sound like, oh yeah, big deal. But oh my gosh, I know that there's some people who are having it. And you can see clearly what's happening and they can't see a thing and you can't do anything about it. And you have to sit back in your own peace and serenity and allow each soul to have its own experience. And it's, oh God, especially when their experiences are attached to your experience. Like if something hurts them, then it's going to hurt their parents. It's going to hurt their and it's like it's a ripple effect. So, even when you're watching some stuff go on with your kids, your grandkids, or, my mom's case, great grandkids, and, you can recognize, man, if something goes south with them, it's going to fucking affect me. So, we are all so connected. But the gypsy one, I don't know, it's so funny because when I went to go about that one, I was just going with this girl who wanted to go do this psychic reading with this woman. And I just went along with her because I was into that kind of stuff. But I don't think I had money or whatever. I was just going along, or I didn't have an appointment, whatever it was. And when we walked in, as soon as we came in the room, it was like this woman, she's kind of like Gilbert Grape's mom or something, sitting on this couch. And there was another person, like her assistant or something. Maybe it was one of her kids. And I know I saw something in a book, and I don't remember if it was my friend showing me in the book or what. But this woman, was a psychic that I don't remember all about her, but she was a accomplished psychic where, she'd been proven to be right about stuff or whatever. And so when we walked in, though, the woman didn't even start talking to her at all. She just started talking to me and started telling me about this life as me as this gypsy. And, that I was this used my looks to hurt people. And I used my looks to get what I wanted, not necessarily to hurt people, but I knew I could manipulate and control people by my looks. And I've met people like that in this life. And then also when you have already had that experience, do you recognize that in other people? And the people who don't have that experience don't recognize it. But so I can recognize that in other people. And I always know it's a dead end street. And and then, like I said, like in this current life, how it was like I was playing the other side of that all the time. Like people were using me for what they thought of my looks, and I was the victim in that scenario. I got the other side of what's that like. And that's just one more perspective. There's multiple facets of how you can experience that dynamic. So you can come and play that out in so many different ways in so many different lives. And it's all for the record, for the all-knowing, for the whole solar, You're just a cell. You're just a player playing out a role. But it's all because you want to. It's not because you're forced, So anyways, there was just some weird stuff, like I said, like where she was saying I had gotten stabbed. She didn't know I had birthmarks there. And then that looked like stab wounds. It looks like that there was one that was like, didn't go all the way in. And then there was one that was a real big one. So there was a small brown hole one, and then there was a bigger brown hole one that kind of looked more ripped. And so Anyways, and then it made sense to why I was so freaked out about being out in the water. Like, I'm really weird about the ocean. Like, even going on a cruise, I'm like, oh my, I started feeling so panicked. And that is where I got killed, was on a boat like that. And then I was thinking, I think it has to do also with New Orleans, because my huge draw to that. And New Orleans over there, that area was way older. And when I was a jewel thief person, she was telling me something about, I was going, I think I was going from our coast to the Caribbean and going back and forth like that. Some kind of, what was that called? Not just I wasn't a jewel thief. I was a smuggler. And I used my looks to screw over men or something. And then I screwed somebody over, so they stabbed me on the boat and they threw me overboard. And then another thing too is when I was a kid, how in the old movies like Frankenstein and stuff and Dracula, they always had the gypsies. So I always wanted to watch. The gypsies were my thing. I was like, oh my God. I was so in love with the gypsies, and I thought the gypsy women were so beautiful. And then as I got older and I would see Hispanic women, I would always be like, oh my gosh, Hispanic women, they're the most beautiful women. And so I always had this look thing with that look, this gypsy. They're more darker. Like when you go back and you see like gypsies, they were like in the first cleansing. And even when I moved to Spokane, I don't know if it was our first. I mean, it's just one of many, but yeah, gypsies are definitely ones that are, um, you know, that they don't want any part of, Uh, to me, they are more like a free tribe, and they try to control them. But I don't know all of the different stuff. It's just, when you piece things together of what you see. But in Spokane, there was a huge gypsy population, and they were all, it was always said they were all criminals and, the worst people. Oh, you didn't have to deal with those gypsies, did you? That's the kind of stuff you would hear. I'd be like, I don't know. I just have never had a bad thing about gypsies like other people. And I always felt bad, but it's weird because the whole thing is when you go in and you live these different lives, you have like an empathy towards that character. You've experienced that character's existence, their reality or something. So you have like and there's so many. Like I know when I go in and look, I am like all over the place in different cultures, in different lives and stuff. And, and I don't know, like, when I started waking up and I started hearing all these starseed and lights worker talk and stuff like that, and then walk-ins and all that stuff. And I was hearing about, that you can come in and they just imprint you with information. Like I could come from the Pleiades, like that's where I think that I come from. And then if I come from there, then I could just come in and they can imprint all of these lives. It's kind of like, instead of having to go to the library and read them all, or instead of having to go through and experience them all, they can just take those out of the Akashic records. They can take those like a download, like a Bluetooth kind of thing, and just download it into my DNA and have it be a part of me. So it isn't really different than if I went and lived them, because I feel them inside of me, because it's a part of my imprint. Because everything that you go and live becomes a part of your imprint. So anyways, you can be imprinted with lives apparently as well. And, yesterday when I was talking, so when he was messaging me, then, so I messaged all the people in my family and stuff, and everybody was, is really bringing people together. That is one thing. And, like there's a lot of positives that are happening to me that I see that are going on with that whole situation. Because, so when I had talked to him, then I was talking to all my family, and everybody's being so supportive. So like I said, people, where we haven't been talking and stuff. And then we talked some about my brother's illness, but, it was just kind of different too. I just keep feeling, it is, when someone's in a crisis, it always brings people to them, to support them and stuff. So it was kind of like that, So people were being, more interested. So people who you haven't talked to in a while. So to me, like, okay, so the energy is pulling people in. Then my mom was taking forever to message. So finally I just called her. And because she's a church lady. She's got a whole giant prayer, like they're called prayer warriors or something like that. Prayer team warriors. I don't know. All the churches have them. And it's all of it's like a prayer chain. All the women all tell, like, oh my gosh, we got this. And they'll all put their energy together and start praying for that person, that situation. In the morning, they'll get up and they'll do their whole pray together with, like if you were on the list, like say you have cancer or something. So each morning they would get up and pray for you until there was no longer a need to pray for you. It's not like they could get a one-time thing. No, these ladies do this every day, and that is like a cultural practice, really, when you think about it, when you go back to other cultures and stuff. And that is, I think it's an important part of our existence to have, not just the camaraderie, but the focused intention of the group, especially like I think I think I'm even called, like us ladies who are older, I think we're called crones. It's like the three they divide it all up with the generations, but it's the three steps in life. What is that called? It's 3 stages. So you have like the adolescent part of you, and then you have the younger version of you, and then you have the older, wiser woman part of you. And that's called a crone. But anybody who watches tarot knows that. So anyways, and that is like, I think, an important role for the crone to see. And, that is part of the progression, is as we age and we become wiser, just automatically we can look back and see like what someone's going through, know, the high potential of how it's going to turn out. And I just saw this crazy, there's so many things I want to finish with these other stories, but this is short. But I just saw this girl, I'll see her, and I usually just skip her videos because there's a lot of people who they just talk about like their trauma over and over and over and over and over again. And she had some sort of bad breakup, but she's got all sorts of whatever. These women get real supportive over these breakups and stuff, and abusive men and everything. So they form their own big groups. Doesn't matter if I'm not involved. But anyways, I'll see her all the time. So this morning though, I saw one. And she said that she was having the worst day ever or something like that. So I stopped to listen a second. And so she wanted to go do, I guess she's in Arizona, and she wanted to do a weekend, like she said, a little short vacay or something. So she flew to Seattle. On the way to the airport, a dog came up and bit her. Signs, watch the signs. Then she flies into Seattle. There's some weird stuff with that whole thing. And then so she gets there, gets a Uber, gets her Airbnb, gets down there, and it's a person's house that's there. They're sleeping on the couch. There is cigarettes and cat pee everywhere. In the bedroom, there's no locks on the bedroom doors. There's no doors on the closet. There's other people's clothes in the closet. There is a box of sex toys. So anyway, she freaked out and she left. Then there was all sorts of problems to get her flight home. And so she said it was 24 hours later and she was just now getting back home and she hadn't had any sleep yet. It's like the signs are always there, and they're going to keep pushing you, and maybe for her, there's going to be some shit that's going to go down in Seattle. And right now it seems like to her that this was the worst thing that could have happened, but really it was saving her life, because you got to watch the signs. And so one of the things too, when I was talking to my mom, so once I woke my mom up and she, rallied the troops, and she had them all like, she's all there, okay, she's talking to me, but she's also, rallying the troops. And she was dead ass asleep. She was sound asleep, which I was surprised. I didn't think she'd sleep that late, but she said she was up in the middle of the night. That Mickey kept getting up and needing to go outside, because all the animals, I mean, everybody I talk to, the animals, everybody's animals are acting weird. And so she, So she was really out of it. And so she was trying to make sense of what I was saying. And so then she's trying to, immediately get all her ladies on the thing. And then she wants a further explanation. But then she didn't want to hang up. She just wanted to stay on the phone for hours, like waiting for information. Like, have they said anything yet? Have they said anything, And I was like, well, he's asleep, I think, because he has to drive over to Seattle now. And so I think he was going to try and sleep. They've been up all night at the ER. So I think he was trying to sleep to go so he could drive. And so anyway, she, we're sitting there talking about all sorts of stuff. And so there was some kind of thing. I don't remember. We were talking about so many different things, but this was really, it was like profound. It was like cleansing and profound. And it was also this like, I don't know. Sometimes it's like you let people in to see you. You know what I mean? And sometimes they do see you. And this was one of the times where I felt like I was seen. You know what I mean? And so I was, we were talking about something, and I had this on my mind anyways, that the Kelly that went into the hospital never came out of the hospital. That Kelly really did die. That Kelly was really gone. And, so I had said something like that to her. And it had to do with something we were talking about. And I said something about, well, Kelly who went into the hospital, she never came out. And my mom was like, oh my God, that just really hit me weird. Gosh, that just, that is true, isn't it? And so we started just kind of talking about that. I got, what do you think? Or, I don't remember the whole conversation, but the thing that really got me is I was bawling. Like, it really just got me, because when I started explaining about, I don't remember if she asked me about the Kelly that went into the hospital. It seems like it was something like that. Like, when you're talking to your mom, the conversations are, different than when you're talking to the cashier. So I don't really remember, but it was probably something like, well, how do you feel like for that or something? And so I was like, that Kelly, I every time I talk about that Kelly, I cry, I get so emotional, because that Kelly went through so much. Oh my God, that Kelly went through so much in her life. And it gets me super emotional. I can't keep talking about it and even saying it. Like, when I was telling her, I was like bawling my head out. I was crying super hard. Just for that Kelly, because she really is. It really is so true. Mine was a really, I had a whole physical thing that happened, because I went into the hospital, one person, and then, you go in thinking you're getting this quick thing and you're going to be back at work. I'll be back at work on Wednesday. Get a hysterectomy today and I'll be back at work. I'll see you there. Like, that's how people were. Like, I'm tough. I don't have needs. I don't have any, I'll be there, I'll be there and I'll work your shift too. Like, I don't understand people. And we try and be so perfect all the time. And so, I seriously was like, how long do I have to stay off, doc? Can I be back to work on Friday? Can you just sign me out and stuff? You're going to have weeks. And so, even when I had tore my shoulder, and I worked because I had to be off when they very first tore it, because it broke my arm. And so that was the first injury. So I had to be off work. And I wanted to work. I was like irritated that they wouldn't let me come to work with a broken arm. I was like, you let those ladies with the broken legs scoot around the hospital on a scooter. Why can't I come with a broken arm? Nope, sorry. And so then, so I used up all my PTO. And then when my arm was still having problems and I wasn't getting strength, then they kept doing more tests, and then they found it was like tore all the way back down inside deep in the tissues, and I get surgery. I had to work that whole year because I didn't have any sling or anything, but I had to work that whole year with my whole rotator cuff tore. I'd have to use this arm to lift this arm. I couldn't, this arm had no strength. But, I'll work out, but I had to build up my PTO so I could get surgery again. So anyways, the things we do to stay alive in this world. So, anyways, when, that Kelly, she was the boots on the ground that went through the traumas and the horrors and everything, and then go into the hospital, and get what you think is going to be a fast thing, and then everything in your whole life blows up. And then at the time, you're so driven and so focused on what you got to get done. It's like everybody is just everything is just ripped out from under you. And, and I lost everything. I lost my identity. I lost my finance. I lost everything. And then that wasn't even enough. Then I still had to, go in and keep on trying to make relationships work. I wasn't picking I was low vibing at that point. And so I wasn't making good choices for myself, no doubt about that. And and even before, I was already, I was already with the one husband that I was with like a year and a half that tore, not. And see, that's the thing is when you look back at your life and you start seeing, there was all sorts of dog bites along the way. It didn't have to get all the way, but when you're so focused on what you got to get done instead of paying attention to the signs, watching what's going on around you, then it'll just keep getting worse and worse and worse. Just like I said, when they're trying to put you in a different direction, you may stub your toe, and then you may break your ankle, and then you may, break your leg, and you'll wreck your car. They won't stop. They'll keep trying to set you in another direction. But when you're so focused, instead of watching and paying attention and tuning into yourself, because when you tune into yourself and you see the signs, it's like right away, like, oh, not supposed to go that way. But, you have to get to that part where you are looking back, and then you start seeing like, oh my gosh, the signs were all around me. I was ignoring the signs because I had to get to work. And so, it had to come to this. It had to come to a brain injury. But it had to, get to that point of getting there. But still, that was not the end of my stuff. I still stayed on the medicine. I still went in another relationship. Like, that was just, that was just me getting thrown out of the house. That was just me getting thrown out of my life that I knew before. And everything at that point, it started on its own trajectory of, basically everything falling apart, like what's happening on a grand scale right now. Everything falling apart. There was nothing I could hold on to. It all had to go. It all had to come down to there was nothing left. And and crazy enough, because my one daughter who's going through, well, they're all going through stuff, but the one whose dog just died, she's the bougie one who has these big theme parties and stuff. So she had a huge theme party planned. It was last night. And she was even having a change and stuff, a change of clothing. She's these really cute dresses, and she's really into that kind of stuff. But I really think it's great to have people around you like that, because then it pushes you to go do stuff that you wouldn't do before. Like, everybody needs one of those friends that is over the top, likes to have parties and everybody get dressed up. I think, otherwise we're just kind of boring. So, anyways, but then all of her stuff started happening. The dog died, and she's already had this party planned for a while, And so then she was like, man, I don't even think I want to do it. And then, I don't know, probably all her friends were like, come on, it's going to be fun. You got to get out, because then she ended up doing it. But she was texting me like, oh my gosh, I do not want to do this. And then she must have been at the thing, and she texted me, and it's like, I just don't even want to be here or something. But she'd already been texting me now, like, I'm just a shell of a person. I'm not even real and stuff. So that is where those existential crises, like it will keep pushing you and pushing you and pushing you until you reach that point of like, oh my God, I'm nothing. What am I? What am I doing here? What am I doing all this for? What is the point of all this? And that is why it's going to keep taking things and taking things away from people. That's why you can't just say, oh, well, just a hurricane. That's all. If you got your hurricane, you're good to go. You're set. Just work on you. No, because it can be another thing and another thing. It's if you are not listening to your soul, it's going to keep pushing you in order to get through to you, because this is a significant time for you to be growing. And, it's the important time to make contact with your soul. And so, for me, when I went in to the hospital, I was definitely neurotic, a workaholic, shopaholic, a relationship junkie who, I should have been spending more time with my kids and not filling my own needs. That is 100%. So I had, I was selfish and ego driven because, when you go and you have to go to work and, so you can feel good. So you can feel like you've accomplished something. And then you got to go get clothes with all your money so you feel like you look good. So, I was very ego driven. So it's no wonder I had 4 girls and my daughters would grow up and be like, oh, God, she's so selfish and stuff. Because, they weren't living inside of me. They didn't know the insecure, broken person that was trying to mask that hide that part of me and just trying to get by in a rat race that overwhelmed me. To me, I really see it as in a visual, some young knobby-kneed streetwalker, she's got her really short skirt on and, her high heels, awkwardly walking, her knobby knees knocking and bruised, in a big fluffy fur coat. So she looks all grown up and lipstick, and she's really standing out there scared to death. And I think that really represents kind of our soul of that, it's broken and exposed. And coming into a place that is so hard, like dropping down into hell and seeing if you can remember who you are so you can get the hell out of it. Like, what a fucking video game is this? Like, what the hell? Yeah. But then you think about how many people go in and watch these apocalyptic movies for entertainment. My brother puts so many on Plex, I can't even watch them, but, people get entertained by that kind of stuff. To me, I know the programming. I know they're imprinting that into your mind so that when things go down, then you start making them go down. I think that there is, there's some stuff when, prophecy and, I don't know, this is manipulated, and this is a game. We're in a game. We're in a movie. I see it more as a video game, like a movie that is a video game, because you come in to play a part. And that's all you are, is playing a part. You aren't the part you're playing. You're just playing a part. You're just playing a role in this scenario that you've come in to experience. But then you have, you have to level up, and you have to, it works like a video game, but it is like a movie. So, and that is what is so fantastic, like how really advanced we really are. Like it's kind of sad that this is how we think, this is all there is. And when it's so much more, and when you start waking up more and more, and you start really putting all that together, how much more it really is. It's fascinating, and no matter for sure, that broken girl that went into the hospital who felt ignored and dismissed and laid there suffering and then got out, I wasn't that person. She died there. She wasn't there anymore. That person didn't come out. That person, a new person came out that was like, it was kind of like being birthed again. It really was. It was like it coming out and being confused as to like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? What's happening? Are we alive? Am I in a dream? Like I was really confusing. And it was like this whole new thing. Like when you say about these drop-ins and stuff, like this is what messes with my head. Like, man, that's weird. But I still feel like I'm Kelly. I just feel like that Kelly, she doesn't exist anymore. She had her role, she had her part that she played, but then she left the stage. She did her part. And then I got to learn from what she experienced, and I got to go in and see, so I could grow. And then the more that I put time into my growth, the more that and I would see how it worked and stuff, then that is when, they started telling me, now you're going to go out and help others. It's just you do. And I know I'm not the only person. There's a lot of people within the first 10 years before, from the time of, see, mine was in '09. So I bet you probably sometime in the 2000s or something, that a lot of people started going through horrible tragedies and putting them into their healing, because it had to start that momentum. And then but I definitely see people so confused. Oh my God. And just talking to my mom, oh my gosh. Yeah, because everything, there was some things she would say, well, you just don't understand. Yeah, well, okay, and then some things she'd go, well, I believe, blah, blah, blah. And then when I would say stuff that I would believe, sometimes she just wouldn't say anything, or, oh, well, you just don't understand. So she's viewing everything going on very much out of the Bible, for the prophecy and stuff, and what the preachers say and stuff like that. So she's very much like, there's going to be the rapture, the people are going to leave, Jesus is going to come. I don't know how it's all supposed to go down, but Jesus is going to come and take out the people with them, so they can rapture and go up to heaven, because they, said his name or whatever it is. And then then the people who are left have to go through the tribulation, which is 7 years of horribleness. Like, I know that part, because I'm always saying we're going in the age of Aquarius. We're going in this good part. Like, I think that we're already going through the other part. It's the healing. That, to me, is the tribulation, the healing part, where you have to go in and you have to heal. In the rapture, like, I still don't know. To me, if a whole bunch of people are leaving the planet right now to go meet their maker, it's the homeless, it's the sick. It's the people who already gave up. It's the people who were meant to leave at this time. They've already finished their part. They finished playing their part, and they're going now. And I think it's part of the awakening for a lot of the Christians and religious people, to pull them free from religion and control, so that they can go into their own self. People don't know how to. Somebody said to me yesterday, like, to talk to God. It's like, well, I talk to God all the time. Like, that's what I'm always talking about. I'm always talking to God. But, it is where people start getting like their idea, their perception of God is the only perception. My perception of God is the universal consciousness. And, that they're always talking to me and guiding me, and I'm always talking back to them and telling them, I have a relationship. I always have. What always confused me is like that other people didn't. Even people who claim to be religious don't. And then these people who claim to be religious, you think the spirits are out to get them. It's like, well, what are you? Like, it's so bizarre. But I think as part of the age of Aquarius, that is breaking free from this. There's a lot of things we're breaking free from, but needing a savior. And that is why there's not just one savior. There's multiple saviors. We got Trump. We got Jesus. There's more. When you really start looking at it from that way, of people expecting this or that is going to save them. Even the fucking election, that was a savior right there. People were sure that was going to be the savior. And And there's, all those people are still just, I can't believe it. It's like, oh, you gotta start believing it. Move on. Come on. Pull free. And so, anyways, I think that part of the awakening for those people is, that they're gonna have to face that the religion isn't God. Like, you have to go and have a personal relationship with God. Like, your God, however it is. If you think it's just whatever. If it's one person you think you're talking to in the sky, however it works, it is your personal relationship. You don't need to go to any church. You don't need to go have anyone tell you. You don't need to read a book. It's just inside of you. And it is, and it's like love. When love is inside of you, what do you do with it? Do you build it up or do you tear it down? And so it's like the same thing. God is love. And so, what do you do with that? And, I give gratitude even when things don't make sense. And I'm always giving gratitude because I know there's a lesson. There's something I'm trying to learn. I'm being taught something. So, but that is how I look at stuff. And I know that is, it's just been a long time and this has worked. So I know it's real. And I think, so in this rapture thing that's going to happen, if it is, going to be the splitting open of the sky or whatever, and we're going to have all these ships coming in, like, that's going to really show the Christians, like, isn't it? Like, where's Jesus? Why are all these aliens coming? Like, I don't know, but that is what I think. Whatever any is focused on, it is to show you the truth so you can heal from the illusion that they have programmed you with. And so, there and is so many things, but I don't think that they're going to just come and just rapture all the Christians out, unless the Christians somehow all as a group came in to go through that experience to all be raptured out together, and they can create that. You can create any kind of experience you want. And this is the thing, is like so many of us just have to sit back and just watch and see, what's going to happen next. I know inside my guidance, they're always telling me, get ready and stuff. Like, this isn't the end for me. And when I hear people talking about it's the end for them, then I keep thinking, I guess they're not going on, because I don't see why they think it's the end. My mom very much keeps saying, this is the end and I'm not going to be here for it and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know if she's going to be surprised because she is, or if she really is going and she feels it. Like, I don't know. Yesterday when we were talking also, we were talking about the baby, talking about, oh my gosh, for my daughter to be over there going through all of this, and she's blocked everybody. She has nobody, no support. And now she's going through all of this. And that's what I was saying. This is like something of her own making to cut herself off from support. Like, I don't like what you said, so I'm blocking you. And, that is coming from a painful position. Anything that people do is, the most horrendous things that people do is coming from them being in a painful position. So, and she's blocked people, and then she's over there and she's having to go through all this stuff. And so when I was talking to my mom, I was like, I feel so bad, especially, look at all the support we have. We've got all these support around us, and she's not getting to experience that at all. She's so cut off. And so, everybody was sending her prayers and stuff for support. But so then at some point in the afternoon, he got over there. They're running tests, and he's on antibiotics. They don't know. They thought maybe it was a UTI because there was protein in his urine, but they don't know if it was a UTI. So the UTI thing is just a maybe, or some sort of infection. He's on the antibiotics. They don't know. My brother is a fireman, and he was talking, and they have been taking lots and lots of babies. And he said that the reason that they flew him was to get him on the antibiotics immediately. And he said that usually babies have really good turnaround when they get on the antibiotics. And so far Ziggy is having that. He's doing a lot better. They're still waiting on tests and stuff to see. But, I know how medical works. They can come back and, well, we don't really know. So just go on home and see what happens. And, or, keep running tests. And then even when they come up with like, oh, well, he's got this or that, then it's all just a guess. Like part of the thing that I see all these people talking on TikTok and stuff with their medical testimonies and stuff is just their life as a lab rat. Well, we'll try this. Well, that didn't work. We'll try this. Well, this didn't work. Well, and how they got sicker and sicker and sicker and nobody was helping them at all. And so that is how it goes. Like, it's all a guessing game. I just put on this movie last night. It was an older movie. Oh, it had Frank Sinatra was a detective. He was older. And and it had Faye Dunaway was his husband, or his wife. And she's sick in the hospital the whole time. I think I have like 10 minutes left of the movie, and I think I've got to finish it. But he's a detective, and they're chasing this guy who is this wicked ice hammer, like the ones that you use to climb the rocks or ice on the side of the mountain. Those are fucking vicious. And he got one of those and would just attack random people on the street for no reason. As he walked past him, as soon as they walked past, he'd just start hitting him in the back of the head with that thing and kill him. And anyways, in the movie, it was talking when Frank Sinatra's at the hospital because his wife's got these issues with her kidney, weirdly enough. And so then they took one of her kidneys out. And then the doctor is talking, and Frank Sinatra keeps getting so mad at this doctor. And the doctor keeps being just like, well, we tried this and all that. And he's getting like, this is my wife. This is not, and I was like, oh my God, this movie is like from the, I don't know, 70s or 80s or something. And, that has been the case the whole time. It's always been this way. And, they just totally well, we're not sure what to do about this. We're just going to try this. Well, we're going to try that. Well, we don't know. Well, this didn't work. And he was just getting irate. He's like, you say this, and now all of a sudden you've taken her kidney out. Now you don't know this. Now you don't, oh. I was like, that's the way it goes. That's the way it's always been. And so many people are going through that. And that's the whole thing about the medical doctors are some people's saviors. Some people won't take their own health into their own hands. I saw them all the time in the hospitals. It is a part of the dependence that people become in the system. They become dependent on a doctor, anybody who they think is smarter than them or better than them, then they devalue themselves and prioritize this other person. And when you have all these unethical, crazy, weirdo, pervo, weird people who are being blackmailed for everything, running the world, I was like, oh my God. I did see some footage just a second ago, and I don't know if it was old or what, but it was the White House, and it was definitely looked like shit was going down. But I know nobody's living there. But there was buses pulling up. There was all these men in black walking in. And so, I don't know. I wish they'd just turn on the TV and say, okay, people, we've been under an assault. There's been a coup. And, we've got it under control now. We're ready to tell you what's going on. It's like, come on, please. Ugh. But I still think we have to go through this really treacherous thing. I think that's what everybody is supposed to be, coming to Jesus moments for, to prepare you for what's to come. It isn't anything. It's for the cataclysmic changing of the earth plane. It's for the changing of the stage. That's what the whole awakening is, to prepare you for your come to Jesus moments, so you're ready, so you're eternal, so you're consciously aware, even though it's frightening to be aware through all of this. And it seems like the people who are asleep have it easier, but I think it's going to be really opposite when it switches. It's going to be very traumatic. Like, I already am having people who message me like how they can't even believe they didn't see this stuff. That is going to be the biggest thing. You watch how many people are going to be like, how did I not see this? What is wrong with me? They're going to just they're going to really, really be so hard on themselves. It's going to be, It's going to be hard to watch people be so hard on themselves. And when people get hard on themselves, they kill themselves. Like, it's going to be, I think that is the tribulation. I don't, I think the threat of all of the stuff that they want to do and all these agendas and all of this, them having all these people here on our soil and stuff, I just don't think, we're going to have to go through all of that stuff with the camps and all that stuff. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that, whatever keeps going on is waking people up. And all of the people awakening and start doing their healing. And that's the pulling free from the system. And it collapses it more and more. The more people see through the illusion, the more that the whole thing falls apart. So, to me, I feel good about, like, I see my family members all struggling in some area of their life, because that is what, is being handed to them. And they do need to focus on the struggle. And so then when he was telling us that, Ziggy was doing much better, and he said, I asked how my daughter was, like, God, can you imagine? You have your baby, you know how sore, oh my God, like, even to go pee. I mean, the first couple days, sometimes, you even have to sit in a tub full of water to pee. It depends on how tore up you are down there. If you have stitches, and it is so uncomfortable. And then how much blood, oh my God, you're just bleeding so much for a couple weeks. And so then, you go home and I don't know, was it within 24 hours or 48 hours? Then you're back in the ER. Then you're on a helicopter. And then you're in another ER. And then you're in a room and stuff. I asked her if she even got a room. And she hadn't even got to go and sleep in so long. She'd just been getting moved from here to there and all that. And then, oh my God. And you got to just feel so dirty and smelly and uncomfortable and tired and exhausted and stressed out. So, those were her, like, oh my gosh, But when I was talking to my mom said she heard really loud in her head, Jesus said something about it was going to be okay or something. I can't remember. And so then, and I kept hearing in my head that it was going to be, she's getting kind of like the lessons of, she needs to see, you got to work stuff out with people. You can't just block everyone in your whole world out of your life, because then you isolate yourself. You cage yourself in. You protect yourself from everybody. Suddenly you're standing there all by yourself. And then the world is going to show you need to have support. You need to have people who are there for you. We all do. That is part of the human condition. We're all so much better when we're together than we are as individuals. And even though, like, I want to move out of here so bad and it'd be more isolated and have, more distance. And part of the thing is that I can't get over how loud it has become. And I know that deafening loudness that is all around me is pushing me to want to be more. God, my throat is itchy. Oh, I forgot. I had my cup of tea. Oh, I forgot. It's probably cold now. I did that yesterday too. Yesterday, I didn't come back and say anything because I was so busy. So when I was talking to my mom, I remembered that the neighbor had sent me the Wood guy's number. So my mom, she just wanted to talk and talk. And so I was like, well, let me call this Wood guy real quick. So I called him, and he gave me prices. He had wood, and this guy seemed so legit. I couldn't believe it. And so then he was like, I didn't even need to pay him right now. Just when I get paid, give him the money. But it worked out better for him to bring it on the weekend because he's a logger and he has to work during the week. So him and his son loaded up half a cord, brought it. It was so full. I couldn't believe it. Now I think that wood I had gotten that I paid for a cord, I think I paid double the price because I think I only got a half a cord. And then I took a picture and showed the neighbors. And then she's like, oh, we haven't even started burning. You should ask us for wood. Well, I'm not going to go start saying, give me more wood, give me more wood. I had said when we were dividing it up, when you had cut up the rest of these giant trees and you saw how much you had, then you would figure like, oh, I still owe her more. I said, but I'm not going to come over there. Even last year after they, I'd shared my other wood, and then I had run out last year, and I said, do you have any, and they gave me a couple pieces, and then he kept running out, and then I went in on him with that. But anyways, the wood I got yesterday was a shit ton. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. Like this guy. And so he came and they dumped it out at the in my driveway, and so then they left, and then I got to pay him sometime this week. But he said even if it's not for a couple weeks, it's okay. I mean, this guy was so freaking nice, and he had his kid out there, teaching his kid, and his kid had to do work and stuff. I told his kid I was going to send him a tip too, but I was not expecting that at all. I wasn't expecting it to be, I was going to get it no matter what the price. I was like, I'm getting some wood no matter what. For early November and to be this nonstop freezing cold, and then they're they're jacking up the prices of the utilities. I am kind of curious because she hasn't burned at all. That's all they had done the whole time they had lived here was burn, and then they got that thing put in just a couple months ago, and they started using that. And so now, and that's what I used last year. I hardly ever burned, but now they aren't. But anyways, when I did run out of wood, when we had that problem last year, whatever it was, I don't remember. But I didn't have any wood, and I asked them, and then it was just like, oh, here's a couple pieces. Like, well, I gotta get my own wood. So, I'm not gonna rely on anybody else to take care of my stuff for me. But so he came and he brought all the wood, and then so I did all that yesterday. Took all that wood back there and stacked it. I had to restack my whole thing. Oh my God, I can't even tell you how sore I am. Like all my muscles and stuff, it was kicking my ass, man. I kicked my own ass yesterday. But it always feels so good. But then it's after you stop and you go in and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm so sore. But I can't even tell you how freaking secure I feel right now. And it's so weird. But that's why I say preparation is everything. So getting the wood, my little wood house is totally full. And then I even have wood stacked all on my porch and out on my gazebo kitchen area place. I have wood out there too. And so, and I had said something about rounds because I had no logs. Everything was split and it burned so fast. I had no long lasting logs to put on for the overnight. So all night long I'm up doing the fire. It's like, geez. So I had told him, I needed I called them rounds. I forgot rounds are something else. But so he brought me some little rounds. He was like, well, you said, but he brought me tons of logs. I think he saw what I was saying. But that's where I'm always saying, like, I think I'm saying the right word and I don't realize I'm saying a different word. I do that all the time. But so that is, yesterday too, I moved my living room around. I was just like, oh my God, because especially now that I'm just like living in this little, I don't know, I basically living in 100 square feet of my house, maybe 50. I don't know. I've got my couch set up as a bed. I got Stella's bed. So anyways, I moved some furniture around, and I had to move this bench that I had over here that I had the plants on. I had to move my trunk over here. And so I took the bench outside, and I didn't know where to put it, but I have one of those over things. So I thought, well, I'll just put it out in front of the house. That's kind of cute where you just have a little bench in front of your house. And so then when he brought all those logs, I did a whole little art thing on it. People are decorating for Christmas and stuff. I'm like, man, I didn't do anything Halloween. I don't want to do anything Thanksgiving. There's nothing I want to do with their fucking holidays. And I see the people out there, decorating, like the person's across the street, her and her husband are out there just all day long. It's freezing cold out there, just decorating and, and she's always decorating and just getting all in the festive mood of everything. She decorates every single holiday. And she's decorating Christmas already. So, and just thinking about, the people in the 3D, they'd want to enjoy their stuff. It's not for my place to sit over there judging them. And that's what keeps standing out to me. There's little judgment things that come in. Even the other day, or the one I didn't even finish, I pulled up, I was looking for a wood guy. I was stopping at the boards at the store and seeing if any people had a little wood tag at the post office and at the little market up the street. And so I was looking for a wood guy number. And then I came home. Oh, but when I was there, this guy came out and he was bending over, doing something with his car, handing stuff into his car, whatever, right as I was pulling out. And his pants were all the way down. Like he had long underwear on, but his pants were all the way down. And so I had some little snotty thought that came in. And I was like, oh my God, Kelly, what the hell snotty problem? That's what I was saying. You got to really use discernment when these thoughts come in, and don't take them all as yours. But the thing that was weird is, I swear to God, he heard it, because he turned and he looked. And I was like, oh my God, see, we know, we can hear those things. And then we think that they're coming from other people. But, and I don't know, sometimes you just get these little antagonistic, I don't even want to call them spirits, because I don't think very many of them have any kind of conscious awareness at all. I think people who have reached a point of being a spirit, that they are more advanced, and when you are outside of this realm, it's not like you can be up in higher vibration realms and do shitty things down to people. Like you wouldn't be able to stay in the higher vibration mental state if you were down, lowering yourself to do shitty things. So, that's what I think is, this place has a lot of energy, like you think of like a lot of little orbs or something going around all over. It's just like these little energy, but it's a dark place. So you have a lot of that kind of energy. And so then, it finds you and then starts being like snotty and bitter and hateful. I was like, oh my God, shut your judgmental face up. And so anyways, though, but no matter what, it points out, to me, to really be aware of when we're being judgy and stuff over stupid stuff like that, because it just sends out that energy. I'm telling you, that guy turned and looked like he heard. And it was a thought. It wasn't even I don't think it was my own thought, but I don't know. I don't know anymore. Like, I'm so, like, was I just having this snotty thought, or was it some sort of entity that is trying to, bring me down, or was it just a lesson for me to see, like, have awareness, all that, you're just not, you're sitting there saying that guy shouldn't have his underwear showing when he's bent over trying to work. So anyways, so far, Ziggy is doing better. I haven't heard anything of this morning, but my daughter did start communicating with me. So her partner said, why don't you message her? So I did. And then, so she started talking. That's how I found out, she had to go to the ER. She had to sit there all that time. Then she had to, all this different movement, never getting to be in a bed or sleeping, and just like, oh my God. And then to, have your sister and your aunt already have gone through having a baby die, then you have that sitting there like, oh my God. I have a lot of empathy for what she's going through, and I'm sure it has been very traumatic. And those are the things that are pushing you into opening yourself up. And if you don't start doing your learning from there, it will go and it will drop you down again, and drop you down again, and drop you down again. It's like you have to find your bottom. You have to realize, oh, I just hit bottom. This is my time now. I have got to make a change. I've got to change things. And part of the big change is you got to stop thinking that it's happening to you. Like everything is happening to destroy you. You got to start looking at it from, oh, this is happening because I'm going in the wrong direction. Oh, this is happening because they want me to go this way. My mom was telling me also yesterday, as we were talking for so long, my one stepsister who has been, all sorts of stuff, weird things going on, because like I said, people were leaving people. So I think it was 2020 when she just suddenly left her husband and stopped talking to her kids and stuff. Now it seems that this relationship that she had, that she thought was, there's so many people who, I don't know. It was an old flame, and then but they feel like that they were meant to be together. So she left her whole family and he left his, and they got back together. And I don't know, he's like way older. Like, it is weird. Like, if you saw, especially if you, this is what's really weird. And this is why, what's on the surface doesn't matter. Because if you saw her husband, I mean, he's the kind of husband that most women are like, oh my God, that's the husband I want. I mean, he's dark, handsome, sweet, soft-spoken, will do anything for you, works hard, and, is not going to yell at you, isn't a drinker, or drugger, or whatever, even as a fireman, as a second job and stuff. So most women would be like, oh my gosh, that's the perfect guy. And then she left him and all her kids for this old, and apparently, there's become some physical assault going on. So there's a lot of stuff going on in her life, that she's, man. But you just got to remember, everything is trying to show you something, but you're looking at it from the wrong direction. And it is so much more clear when you move away from something, when you look back on it. And you can see, and that is part of the disruption, what they do with the generations. But we're about to go through where these young people who are so judgy of the older people are about to find out the mistakes they've all been making. And they've been big. I mean, we've been watching. And that's one thing that my mom and I were talking about too. It really is truly sad to those of us who got to be in the 50s and 60s and 70s. We got to go through that wholesome experience, we got to, have Ozzy and Harriet be our role models. Like now, you got friggin' gender bending role models on everything. Some of that footage I saw of these drag shows that people are taking their kids to, like, I'm shocked. Like, why do you think that is okay to have a man wearing fake boobs, pulling up his dress and wearing panties and shaking them to your children? Like, how, like, what do you think that is doing to your kids? Like, man, it's just so weird how we were being programmed in one thing and then they switched it up, switched the programming. But now when you look back, I was like, oh my gosh, but we all got to have like that. We got to experience freedom. We got to experience like companionship, and like we got such a more wholesome thing, and I think all of us who got to go through that, we all want that for our kids, our grandkids. We all want everyone to get to have that experience, especially over this one where it's dangerous. You can't trust your best friend, and everybody wants to have sex with you or murder you or get the video of you humiliated. Like, it's mental. And, I just, and then the huge push on trying to get them to all give up their gender identity. And that is such a huge push in the schools. Like, you get extra credit if you do it. You get all the attention. You get to be the one. Oh, it's so weird. But, anyways, we need all this stuff. We need it to all blow up and go the other direction. And so, and it's happening. We're in the process. It's just slow as can be. But anyway, so that is the good news so far. Everything is going good with him and with Ziggy. And, I see him, really broke some walls down for my daughter. She's, hopefully that helps her, bring herself back into the family. But it's hard to, I'm not going to be pushing anybody into anything, because this is going to be so much trauma that people are going to be going through on such a different level than people understand. And until people really understand about the awakening and what it really is about and the process and how involved it is, like, I'm not going to start, hitting her with anything else. Like, I know that she will eventually have to humble herself to, the humbling yourself is, it's like the breakdown of who you are. When you get to that humbling place, like, yeah, I'm not perfect. Yeah, I make mistakes. But yeah, it's okay. You know, why do I think I have to be perfect? Why do I think I have to be something more than I am? Why am I going to be hard on myself? Why do I have to put myself down because I have needs, you know? That's the thing. And so, you know, it's all about this acceptance of self. But there is a point of, from ego being all about like know everything and all that, to drop it down to get to that point of humbling. Like, I don't really know everything. I don't even know if I know anything. I don't even know what I know. Like, everything is so, like I said, for me, when I really started becoming really awake, I guess is what I would say, is I really felt like the top of my brain, my top of my head was just all of a sudden opened. It was like, oh my gosh, it's just everything. Everything is everything. It's everywhere. Like, yeah, so there is no defined. There is no definition. It's only as how you define it. It's how you see it. It's how you perceive it. There is nothing beyond which you see. So everything is about your perception. Your perception is what you are there to experience so you can learn more things. It's all just about this learning and expanding. And it is just the same thing. It's like you see a comet moving through the sky. That is you. That is your energy. Moving through the lessons, expansion. You're moving through all of that to expand and become the hotter, bigger comet. And so, yeah, you know, that is what we are, you know, is this energy that is trying to understand itself and to become bigger and more. And so, anyways, you know, I'm trying to think if I had said everything. I went on and I looked on yesterday. I didn't do, and I mean, I was so busy yesterday, I couldn't believe it. It was weird.